Welcome viewers back to Sathology channel, and we have a very eminent guest who has taught yoga to many celebrities, and he's an exponent of yoga. And yoga is one of the most popular words in the US, along with karma. So when people come to a mind, body, and spirit balance, then they come to yoga. And the second word is karma, which is based on action, which means action. So I have this person, gentleman, who has taught yoga to different people. And we are going to briefly touch yoga is a Sanskrit word which means comes from yuj dhatu in Sanskrit, which means to connect. And when many Sanskrit words come from there, yukta, yuja, yagya, yoga. So without delaying and keeping our guests waiting, we'll go quickly to Sri Atul Vyas from India. So welcome Atulji to this Sathology session.
Thank you, Aditiji. Very good morning.
Very good morning. So Atul ji, like where does your fascination from yoga begin? So you are a very practitioner for a very long time. Where does it begin? Where did it all begin?
Yes, yeah, it began with my mother, who was incidentally the first lady yoga guru of India and first postgraduate girl of Rajasthan, a professor of economics.
Hmm.
So, right from my birth, I was into this field. During those days, it was ridiculed upon. Yoga was ridiculed upon. So, but my mother was doing, and so many foreign guests were coming at that time even. So it was in the family. So I started as a fun, as a child, imbibing your mother and all that. But gradually, it really grips you. My mother never forced me, but it really grips you, and because when you keep on exploring things and new things are revealed to you, you would really love it. Those experiences. So that kept me into yoga. And later on, when after the passing away of my mother, was a jolt, and I was in a really very bad shape, and I mean did not want to live as without her. But suddenly, when very top Hollywood actress, when she visited us to console us, and she asked me to conduct a session, and it was very. I thought it would be very painful without her. But to my great amazement, when I did yoga with her, I found the presence of my mother into yoga, and that was perhaps the second beginning of my life with yoga. And I mean, now yoga is everything because I always feel the presence of my mother when I talk, do, or feel yoga.
That's
That
very
is how it started.
Oh, wonderful. I think it's very inspiring because mothers are a great source of inspiration to their children. And so we always refer to nature as mother in the Sanatan Dharma culture. So, how do you relate yoga to nature?
Well, if you go to the basis of Sankhya philosophy, they call it Purush and Prakriti. Purush is always a father, and Prakriti is naturally mother. So, so mother nurtures. Mother basically the definition of mother is in India. If you know, in Sanatan Dharma, we have got three gods, and we believe that Brahma is for creation, Vishnu sustains the life, and Rudra, ends the life. So, mother in a way is like God. Perhaps I will say it is she is one up on the God like that because mother creates. She creates life from nowhere. Secondly, she nurtures, and thirdly, she never destroys. Similarly, the mother nature, she creates, she sustains us, gives us oxygen, water, sunlight, everything she provides us, even food, bath. she never destroys us. It is we who, through our acts, destroys us. So mother nature and mother are the qualities of mother are almost the same, perhaps identical. So I see mother as a mother nature, and if you really want to enjoy mother nature, then solitude and emptiness are the greatest friends. When you friend with them, then you really have a communication with your mother nature.
No, you said so important things like solitude, which is practically absent in the American lexicon. So they want to be surrounded, they want to be surrounded by everyone, and then they practice this thing. It's difficult for them to practice yoga, but at the same time, majority of Americans are alone. Like they may have a lot of people and they may have a lot of venues, but they're very lonely. Most of the Americans. So how can yoga help in filling up that loneliness, which you teach or practice?
That is very beautiful question, and I will answer. I will give you my own experience. I'm born into a family of joint family where 40 people live together and eat together, one kitchen and all that. So it is all want to be surrounded by people, having fun this way, that way. And secondly, when Indira Gandhi was quite close friend of my father, and she told my father in one day that in ultimate analysis, everybody is alone. And when I heard this, I wondered how it is possible to be alone and how boring it would be. But as an on, I practiced yoga with my studies, and as I grew older, it was an amazing journey, an amazing experience that I started to love my own company. I repeat, I started to love my own company. And that is so important. You are always having your own company, whether you agree or not. I mean, you are always in a dialogue with your own inner self. If you are doing something, you are always talking to it. Should I do it? Whatever it is, you're always talking to yourself. And that company, that your real company, I mean, it's so wonderful. The problem with the world is that because of the culture, the self perception and self esteem of the people is so low. Secondly, the sense of insecurity in this culture, the sense of insecurity and emptiness within actually makes a person uh, scared of loneliness. That's why the people are scared of loneliness. The more you grow from within, the more you feel secure, the more your self esteem and perception is high. Trust me, you will love solitude. And it is now, even in the midst of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, I can shut myself off. And that's an amazing feeling. If you self perception is high, self esteem is high, you feel fully growing within your own self, and you got a high self esteem, then only you will love solitude. People, all over the world, because of the internet culture, are very empty. They want kicks through this, disco dance or this fad or that fad. They want to forget themselves. They don't want to look within themselves of some fear of whatever it is. And they just want to look out and do something. That's why no fad in America runs for long except yoga, because it grows a person from inside, and you fully are aware of your own self, and you start loving your own self. That is very important. That's why I uh, I love solitude more and more as I grow from within and from without. And I think people should, in America, who are doing yoga, they love also solitude.
No, you are absolutely right. See, there was a very famous saying: "People's bellies are full, but their hearts are empty." And that is a very common problem in the Western world. The bellies are full, but hearts are empty. in India, people's hearts are full, but bellies are empty. And
Very
but the contrast is that you can always fill a belly with something, but you cannot fill a heart if it is empty. And I think that's where what you do is a wonderful thing, where you're filling up the hearts, remove the emptiness through yoga philosophy. Now, my another question is particularly related to Americans only, is that many Americans they practice yoga without understanding the philosophy. So it just remains an exercise. So do you think that yoga without philosophy still remains a yoga?
well. If you learn physics, if you study physics or chemistry or science or biology, what you do learn first? Even medical science, you learn theory first, and then you go to the lab to test the theory. So philosophy is the first thing one should learn, basics. Otherwise, I mean, just going to a lab and start doing experiment without learning the theory. I mean, it's so funny and so stupid. So that is a very important observation, that philosophy, not in detail, but the basic philosophies of yoga about humanity, because there is a yogic anatomy, there is a yogic physiology, there is a yogic psychology, there is a yogic philosophy. Unless and until you are aware of all these things and you start, then I mean, without them you start learning yoga, then it's just a physical movement of the hands and body, nothing else.
So, in your teaching of yoga, especially you give an example of your mother, what books have you taught to your students, or is there any particular thing that you teach before you people can begin yoga with you?
Yes, there are no, I mean, there are plenty of books. We don't have any book because when I thought of writing a book with an American very great psychiatrist doctor, lady doctor, and we almost had designed everything about the book. And I'm sure at that point of time it would have been the one of the best books of yoga. I can assure you, because I've studied Ayurveda, I've studied Chinese, I've studied Greek system of medicine, and yoga and every, so combining everything, medical. I'm a student of science, so combining everything, because that is all my belief that if everything is a science, then they should almost agree on something. They cannot disagree on everything. So I was about to write a great book on yoga with her, and when I approached my mother that I'm writing a book and this is the basic structure of the book, she told me that's very good, but she cautioned one thing which I mean carry with me, and I think I should share with the people of America, that she told me that please write a book when you discover something of your own. In this field, you are a postman. You are getting a letter from the sages, their knowledge. Letter means knowledge from the sages, and passing on to the people and taking your peace and being lost away. So this is your role at the moment. But if you can create something like sages have created yoga, then I would be very happy if you can write a book. Without that, you are a postman. So after that, we have not written any book, but we teach yoga through the Guru Shishya Parampara. We share with them the basics of yoga and the importance of yama and niyama that are critical in life before learning yoga. Yama, being truthful. I don't say that you be this always in your life. Trust me. But one can practice for 15 minutes. Truth, but one can be truthful being in 15 minutes. One can be non-violent in speech, words, and deeds for 15 minutes. One can be brahmacharya. One can follow brahmacharya for 15 minutes a day. You can increase aste, aparigra, santosh. I mean, you take it. If you do it this, trust me, you will see your consciousness, evolution of your consciousness. And when your consciousness evolves, you go beyond diseases and problems of life. So we teach them through Guru Shishya Parampara the basics of yogic philosophy, and then through yoga we ask them to experience it, and that corroborates whether it is right. That's why I call myself yoga scientist. I don't I don't believe in everything yoga says. I say it's a claim of yoga, and we should test whether it holds true or not.
No, that's right. The ownership of proof is on other side, not on our side. We own proof.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So you put it so well, because I think there are a lot of misconceptions about yoga and the way you are teaching as it is. So we are a postman because this knowledge has come from Ved Vyas and other great acharya,
Yes,
Patanjali
yes,
included them. So we are all a postman. And I think
true.
when we try to interpret things in our way, we actually distort the message of the original person who did it. And so
Very true. Very true.
the interpretation has led to the downfall of many Hindu scriptures being presented by many, I would say, people who have no integrity, and they are
True. True.
representing by misinterpretation. Now, coming back to your own experience, since you work with so many celebrities also. So, what is one thing that is common when the yoga is taught to a celebrity or to a commoner? What is common?
Look, the problem with the celebrities is that they are in a tremendous stress of the in a situation, because वो ये पूछते हैं, if I say in Hindi, कि ये सच है कि वो सच था. They think that when they were nobody, whether that was the truth, that was the truth about them, or now when they are something. When my mother taught yoga to Bill Clinton as a president, he gave us a big crystal box with the presidential seal on it. And, he said that I can give you, he told her that I can give, actually her daughter Chelsea wanted to learn, and that's why my mother was taken to him. And he said, I will also learn. So he said, I will give you 15 minutes. Then my mother walked out on him and said, no, 15 minutes I can teach you yoga. And everybody was so embarrassed. I mean, their personal staff, and then security staff, and the embassy staff, they were all around. I mean, there was 3 tiers security. So they were so embarrassed. But Bill Clinton, being Bill Clinton, he jokingly pointed out to everybody and said, there is one person on the earth who can walk out on the president of the United States of America, and there she is. So my point is, the basic thing with these people is that they are not able to understand the reality, whether they are the same person, they are the real person right now when they are celebrity, or they were that person when they were nobody. So there is a great conflict, and yoga actually grounds them. Yoga grounds them to understand what they are really, and that conflict goes away. That pomp and shows goes away, because when Indira Gandhi told my mother that the biggest stress in this world is public adulation. You don't want to let it go, and they make you believe something you're supernatural. And to remain grounded in public during public adulation is one of the greatest thing yoga has taught me, and yoga has helped. So here the yoga helps the celebrities and into the commoner. I mean, trust me, I consider myself as a commoner. I feel myself as a king. I respect everybody as a king. Neither I am, if somebody celebrity is there, I am not bothered. If there is a common man, I am not like this. So I am very grounded, very, very grounded. But I, uh, I, I love myself, and I'm very, very proud of myself. Without hating, without being competitive, this is amazing thing that you feel you wish well of others, and yet there is no competition. Yet you are living with them without competition, sense of love, and being happy with their success. that is the thing with yoga, helps with even to the commoners, and that's why it reduces stress by huge quantity.
No, you are absolutely right. That yoga becomes a part of you, and that's also
Yes,
another identity that you carry. And that identity, we all have to live our life as an observer, not as a doer. So when we start living our life as an observer, then things become less stressful and more easy. So, Atulji, one final question to you is, since you said you learned through your mother and the Guru Shishya Parampara, so who was the guru of your mother?
yes. The guru of my mother was Shivananda, who was a medical doctor in Malaysia. Amazing. And then he became a saint. That's a long story. And when he saw my mother, when she went to him when she was 7 years old, he gave, looking at her curiosity at that time, when it was ridiculed upon. Everybody thought it's a nut vidya, it's a nut vidya like acrobatics. So, but my mother had some previous life, I don't know, attraction. She was very keen. 7 years old, she went to him in Rishikesh with her grandfather, and he gave her shelter, food, free, and knowledge of yoga. And as a guru debt, my mother said, Guru Rin, she never charged anybody any single naya paisa. She said, my guru never charged, and she never charged, despite being so famous in the world. But before I end, I must add few very latest things about yoga, if you permit me.
Yes, please.
These are, when Marco Polo visited India in 1288, he came back and wrote and told to the world that in India the sages lived for 2 centuries and they thought it's mythology. Everybody made fun of it, mythology. Recently, latest discovery for which a Nobel Prize was awarded in 2009 in the medical world for physiology to Elizabeth and one more. They discovered that cells, why certain cells live longer and younger, and why certain cells die. So when they discovered, they found out that there is a, on the tip of chromosome there is a DNA, and that DNA has got telomere, some long thing in DNA that is called telomere, and the length of that telomere decides whether this cell will live longer or they die short. Because when cell divides, the telomere they also divide, and now it has they found out later on why certain cells have longer telomere and why certain cells have shorter telomere. They found out that the chronic stress, wrong diet are responsible for shorter this telomere. And when they then one Dr. Dean Ornish from Washington, Seattle, MD, he did a research with Elizabeth. They found out that the enzyme behind the telomere length is telomerase, and they found out that doing yoga can increase the length of the shortened telomere, thereby increase the longevity and youthfulness of a person. And when Dr. Dean Ornish conducted this program, this research, it was amazing that they took a group of 30 people and divided into two, and the one controlled group, it showed that the stress level went down because the cholesterol level and other things went down. And when that went down, the the production of telomeres, the enzyme responsible for the length and health of the telomere, increased by 30%. This discovery has turned the medical world upside down, and they are very, it has given clue to the secret of youth and longevity. And yoga is a very important ingredient in this latest discovery. There are hundreds and thousands of medical discoveries which I have illustrated with me to tell the world it is not mythology. Yes, we can live for 2 centuries. And that is yoga. Through yoga.
Thank you so much, Atulji, for your time today. We'll continue this discussion because yoga is a large topic, endless topic. But today, the viewers have learned the importance of yoga in two things which I can take out from this talk is solitude is different than loneliness. Solitude means you voluntarily select a position of silence so that you can rebuild yourself, and this is very different than loneliness. Loneliness is a forced condition, solitude is a choice. And the second,
Choice. And you sorry, sir, you are in solitude, you live with your own company, yourself. That's a wonderful company. Trust me.
so,
That's
so that,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that topic we'll cover later on. And the another one is the yoga without philosophy doesn't make sense. And there
Yes.
has to be philosophy, and like just like if you operate a car without a manual, you may destroy the car.
Yes, yes, very true.
So body is like a car, you are the passenger, and you need the manual of yoga to drive that body properly. So there is a lot of good things that you can learn with Shri Atul Vyasji, and keep listening. He'll be back with us again after a couple of days in the next session. We'll discuss more about yoga history, just like he covered today Marco Polo and the amazing story of Bill Clinton with his mother. So I think probably that was the only woman who walked away, safely walked away with choice from Bill Clinton. Thank you so much. And thank you, Atulji. You're very welcome. And we'll organize the next session. We'll cover the more details about the yoga. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi, and have a nice day, great day. Thank you for your session. Namaskar to all your viewers and listeners. God
Thank
bless them all.